Hello and welcome to the 2021 IEEE Rising Stars Global Conference. This is Phil Bautista, and my guest today is Vivian Kelly, founder and CEO of Interprose. She's one of our featured speakers of the conference today. Welcome, Vivian.
Hi, Phil. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We're delighted to have you. Your session today is entitled Empowering Brand Ambassadors Through Thought Leadership. Tell us a bit about what your company does and how it impacts what we see, what we think, and influences the decisions that we ultimately make.
Okay, so I run a public relations company, which is really communications across the board. So it's social media, it's traditional media, it's speaking at conferences, any form of communication, any platform where you are imparting your knowledge or your story to an audience. We work with really quite brilliant individuals in the technology space who might be very, very technical, and we help them kind of boil down their story and tell it in layman terms so that everybody can understand. So, one of the tricks is if you are able to communicate to your grandmother or to, say, a Wall Street Journal audience, you can layer on the more technical terms and use jargon, but they really need to understand the point that you're making in a very kind of plain English way.
Absolutely. Well, and there's a great need for non-technical people to understand what technical people are trying to come across with, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, from your perspective, what do you think the biggest challenges for engineers starting off in their career?
So I think that communication skills is a big challenge for a lot of people. Engineers in particular that we've worked with are very comfortable with the technology, using it, writing about it, maybe even explaining it to peer to peer. But communication skills are very important because you're working with a project team. You have an ultimate outcome or benefit of that project, probably to society in one way or another. And you are going to be communicating or presenting rather the result of that project to your management or to customers or to other team members. So being able to do that, succinctly and confidently and have those communication skills will really help you in your career. So starting out and kind of really jumping in and honing those skills is really important from a very young age.
Absolutely. Well, and speaking of a young age, how can a young engineering professional build the confidence they need when it comes to non-technical skills like communication and leadership?
So I would expect the audience at this year's Rising Stars or any Rising Stars conference to be very proficient in social media. I'd probably say 90+%. And so they're very familiar with that, probably in their personal lives, more so than their careers or the professional world. But it's really important to start to think of yourself as someone who is an expert in their field. If you think about that at a very young age, that will really help you progress your career rapidly because others will start to see you as an expert. That means that you're imparting your knowledge, you're giving your opinions, you might read something and share that with someone. So I think it's really important to really start to think about, where do I want to be in my career? And how do I get there? So look at other people, mentors or people that you admire that are at the top of their field. Are they tweeting regularly? Are they active on LinkedIn? Are they speaking at conferences? Are they writing articles in your industry press? And think about emulating that. Now, your company probably isn't going to make you a spokesperson for them right off the bat in your career. But you can do things that'll get you noticed and start to build out a portfolio. For example, next year, hopefully, or in future Rising Stars will be a live event again. And we all have cameras on our phones, so you can go around and interview people as you're networking with them. Ask them about their interest, ask them why they became an engineer, find out more about them from a professional perspective. collate these interviews. You could perhaps start a video blog, engage in Twitter chats, but become interactive, become curious, and also look at things that might be out of your particular realm, such as podcasts that talk about design. If you're designing things, go and find out what designers are talking about when it comes to branding. So there's a lot of things you can do.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like it's important to build credibility as a recognized expert in your field. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's a very competitive market out there, and there's always somebody that can do your job better. So if you establish credibility in your field by becoming, very knowledgeable, you've gone to school, you've gotten your degrees, you have, been interested, you've kind of proven yourself from an education standpoint. Now you're going into the big world. You want to establish that credibility as a professional. We've been working with IEEE for a very long time, actually since 2007. So hundreds and hundreds of IEEE members and volunteers who are literally at the top of their game in their careers. And the ones that do the best and the ones that have been able to get to the very top of their field are the ones that are visible. They're discoverable. So they're not only very good at what they do, but they share their knowledge. They impart their insight, and they do it in a way that is very social. So it's all about interacting, and that establishes your credibility, not just with your small sphere of people within your workplace, but to the world.
Well, and I see a lot of ads, and I get a lot of emails from recruiters for a subject matter expert, which I am in my field. But you talk about being a thought leader. What do you think a person needs to develop to become a thought leader in the particular field that they're in or that they choose?
Yeah. So it's up to other people to consider you a thought leader. You can't just think, I'm a thought leader. You don't just get up in the morning.
Right.
You become a thought leader by having a particular interest and then building that interest to something that other people are interested in. So you have to communicate your thoughts. So what you might do on social media, for example, let's use Twitter or LinkedIn. If you have a particular interest in smart cities, let's say, how cities are developing with emerging technologies and how that is benefiting society, then you can, if you're reading about it, you can share an article with your sphere of interest. You can have an opinion and provide an opinion. Now, if you are speaking on a social media platform, it's very important to establish that these are your personal opinions. They're not the opinions of your company. You could get into trouble. But, be authentic about it. If you're interested and you're passionate about something, then just share that with the world. And then you'll find that others share that passion and that interest, and then your followers will grow. And then you'll become a thought leader because people will come to you for your insight on that particular topic.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like what I would call success, but tell me what success looks like to you. How would you define success?
From a communication standpoint, I would set goals, let's say. So if you don't feel that you're particularly good at public speaking, but it's something that you want to improve, you might just set a milestone or set a goal for yourself. There are some wonderful organizations out there like Toastmasters, for example. If you're not familiar with them, it's a very safe environment, and it gives you those skills to become much more comfortable in public speaking. So that would be kind of a small step, the way you do with anything. You don't want to kind of boil the ocean, but you want to go and have a milestone that you've achieved and you feel really good about. In terms of social media, it's not just about quantity. So if you are starting a video blog or a Twitter, particular channel on Twitter or LinkedIn, it's not just about the likes, but it's about the quality of people that are liking your thing. So if they themselves have a large following and they are also talking about what you're doing and they like or they comment, then you may only have a handful of people at first as opposed to hundreds. but the quality of those people is really going to kind of grow your sphere. And I would say that really kind of grow that portfolio that I talked about, where you're, if you want to become considered a thought leader, grow that portfolio continually, so that you always have content that you can put out to people that's interested, but also make it very timely. So curating content and something that is topical is really important. So be listening all the time, but also communicating.
That sounds incredible. Can you tell me, if I may ask, what would you, if you had to go through your list of successes in your work with your company, tell me what you would pick out as maybe one of the that stands out the most to you in the work that you've done?
Well, I won't mention him by name, but there is an IEEE fellow. So he's been a member of IEEE for a very long time. And he is the top of his game in his field. And excellent public speaker, very good author at articles in his industry media. And he actually became, got involved in social media at a much later stage in life. So he discovered it, and his children were really quite proud of their dad. But then he became a social media star because, he took all of these skills that he had, professionally and in his career, imparting knowledge in other ways. Then social media came around. It wasn't, it hadn't been invented in his day when he was starting out his career, and he just became a social media rock star. So that's one of our proudest moments, because we can teach the skills, and we can craft the story, and we can collaborate on, the various different channels that you want to communicate through. But you really have to embrace it, and you have to make it part of your life. And he really did, and it was impressive. And he's become such a mentor and such a visionary.
That's amazing. What a great story and a great description. So tell me, as a featured speaker here at the conference, and as a thought leader yourself, what motivates you to take time out of your busy schedule running a company to speak at a conference? What's in it for you?
Well, I was particularly interested in this one and excited about the invitation because I am talking to our future leaders, and these the audience of Rising Stars, really bright, really motivated. So I'm interested in listening and learning as much as I am imparting, whatever I can share from my own experiences with the audience, because they have a bright future ahead of them. And I think what we can learn from the next generation is also helping me.
That's great. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time with talking with me today. We look forward to your presentation at the conference. Thank you again for presenting at the Rising Stars Conference. And we look forward to seeing you in Vegas next year when we have a hybrid conference, which will be part online and part in person as a physical conference. Thank you so much for your time, Vivian.
Thanks, Phil. Take care.
Cheers.